when I do anything strenuous. But yes, we're going to be having some live music in the studio, which is always fun.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Alexis. Alexis Conran live on Times Radio from 1 o'clock this afternoon.
It's 9:43 now on Times Radio Breakfast. After yet another torrid week for the party that governs Scotland, Scottish Labour's deputy leader Jackie Baillie is calling for Nicola Sturgeon's membership of the SNP to be suspended. The Sunday Times says this morning the party's elected representatives are turning against their former leader too, accusing her of leaving behind a shambles for her successor, Humza Yousaf. Ian Blackford is SNP MP for Ross, Skye and Lochaber, and formerly the party's leader at Westminster. Ian, good morning. Hello, Ian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Good, we've got you now. Thanks, Ian. Right, I want to start with this piece from the Sunday Times this morning that suggests the SNP is running out of cash after that exodus of 30,000 members, and indeed the unexpected legal costs linked to this ongoing police investigation. When are you anticipating the SNP will run out of money?
Callum, let me tell you, the SNP is not going to run out of money. The NEC met yesterday. The National Treasurer made it clear to the National Executive Committee that the party's finances are in balance. We still have a healthy level of membership. There's a healthy level of donation giving. The party obviously has come through a challenging period. We've announced that there's going to be a...
It's not quite through it, is it, Ian?
What's not true?
It's not. I'm saying it's not quite through the challenging period.
Oh, sorry. Look, of course, there are issues that need to be addressed, Callum, and I think it's really important that the party is as transparent as it can be. Humza Yousaf, the First Minister, has announced that. There is the governance review that was put in place at the National Executive Committee yesterday. And of course, I know that the public will need to show a clean bill of health. That's what will happen over the course of the coming period. There'll be an interim report that will be ready for June, and there'll be a full report given to the party conference later on this year. And we can get on with holding the Tory government to account in Westminster and make sure that we're ready for the UK general election when it comes.
You're going to be part of that review, and in terms of transparency in a new era of understanding exactly how the SNP works and operates and is governed, just answer this. Colin Beesey, the SNP treasurer, told the NEC that the party was having difficulty in balancing the books due to the reduction in membership and donors, and that this potential by-election, Rutherglen and Hamilton West, is going to put the party under pressure.
No, it won't, because what happens...
That's the treasurer that's saying that, Ian. Have you seen the books?
Look, what I have done is I've had a number of conversations with senior officials over the course of the last few days. But let me say, because you've asked a question specifically about the by-election, because how it works in the SNP...
Sorry, I haven't really asked about the by-election. What I've said is that the SNP treasurer says that he is having difficulty balancing the SNP's books, and you're kind of refusing to accept that, is my understanding.
Callum, it might help if you let me answer the question, because I'll give you the answer, which will actually, I think, allay any concerns over this. Because the way that the SNP conduct itself around a by-election is there's a levy which is put on branches, not coming out of the central funds. It's paid by the branches that make a contribution to make sure that we've got the funds in place to fight any by-election and fight any by-election to win. There is no issue in terms of the party being able to do this, and there is absolutely no issue in terms of the party's finances being in difficulty. They're in balance. We still have a healthy level of membership, a healthy level of donations, and we'll make sure that the party is funded to the extent that it can meet all its obligations.
Okay. Sorry for the confusion. I'm just confused by the treasurer saying there's difficulty balancing the books and you saying there's no problem at all. I'm just trying to understand where the transparency is here.
What the treasurer said to the National Executive Committee yesterday is that the SNP's finances are in balance.
Okay. The quote I have is having difficulty balancing the books.
Well, you weren't at the meeting, Callum, and sure. I think what we got is a selective reporting of what happened yesterday. Having spoken to officials last night, having had a readout of what happened, what I'm saying to you is that the party's accounts are in balance.
OK, that's very helpful then. Thank you for the clarity. Let's go on to discuss the front page of the Sunday Mail in Scotland today. Police investigating fraud, are looking at claims that Nicola Sturgeon blocked access to the SNP's account. Let's have a little listen to this leaked video that the Sunday Mail's obtained from a meeting of the party's ruling body.
Just be very careful, all of us, about suggestions that there are problems with the party's finances, because we depend on donors to donate. There are no reasons for people to be concerned about the party's finances, and all of us need to be careful about not suggesting that there is.
Well, I'm sure you'll agree, Ian, that what we've just heard there is any possible defence from Nicola Sturgeon that she didn't know what was going on with the party's finances evaporate in 17 seconds?
No, I don't think that's the case. Look, let's go back to the reality. As a political party, that we have to publish our accounts on an annual basis. They're lodged with the Electoral Commission. These are audited accounts. They've been published every year over the course of the last 20-odd year period that has been the mechanism. There is no concern in terms of the SNP being able to function. We've fought election after election over the course of the last few years as the normal course of events. Of course, we approach donors, members give donations, parliamentarians make a contribution. I understand there's obviously a bit of excitement around all of this, but I think one of the things that the First Minister made clear in that clip that's been leaked from wherever is, of course, that the SNP's finances are absolutely robust. We can meet our obligations, and that's a situation that I fully expect to be maintained over the course of the short, medium and longer term.
So you accept that Nicola Sturgeon, when she was First Minister and leader of the SNP, knew about the condition and the status of the party's finances?
No, I won't be aware of the conversations that the First Minister would be having with the National Treasurer and headquarters staff, but I would expect the First Minister to be fully updated on an ongoing basis as a leader of the party as to the financial circumstances. There is no story here.
Well, she's offering reassurance here, Ian. That's the point. So she's offering reassurance on the party's finances, which suggests she knew the details of the party's finances. And my point is that any defence to the contrary is now non-existent. She knew the ins and outs of the party finances.
Alan, anybody that's in a position of leadership, whether you're talking about a political party, whether you're talking about a business, has people that report into them. In this case, there's a treasurer of the party. There are financial staff that have responsibility for all of that. And you would expect in any organisation that any leader will be updated on the key elements. There'll be financial reports that would be given. The SNP is no different in that regard from any other organisation.
Yesterday, former SNP MSP Angus MacDonald, who was MSP for Falkirk East from 2011 to 2021, and indeed a lifelong supporter of independence, confirmed that he has resigned his SNP membership after 35 years. You literally cannot afford to lose members at this point, can you? Especially somebody of such lifelong and determined support as Angus MacDonald.
Well, I regret if Angus has left the party. He's been a member for a very long period, as you say. Look, at the end of the day, the SNP has a membership of over 70,000 in Scotland. We have more members than every other political party in Scotland combined. I want us to be a mass membership party. I want us to be able to grow our membership again. People have been joining over the course of the last few days and weeks. Let's make sure that we've got the focus that we need to have on winning the general election when it comes next year, that we've got the...
How many people have joined in the last few days and weeks?
Well, what I can tell you, because I know from the branches in my own constituency that a number have joined. But
how many in your constituency?
I'm not going to tell you exactly what the number is in my own constituency, but I do get regular updates of people having joined. The fact is that we need to make sure that we're broadening and deepening our appeal. We're asking people to come and join us in the movement in the SNP in order that we win the next election, that we've got the focus on winning Scottish independence. Party memberships of any parties go up and down. That's the normal cycle of events. But the hard fact is that the SNP has a much bigger membership than any other party in Scotland, indeed has more members than every party combined in Scotland.
Mike Russell said that he is, of course, the president of the SNP. He was the interim CEO when Peter Murrell was forced to stand down during the leadership contest. Mike Russell describes this current chapter as the biggest crisis in 50 years for the SNP. I assume he is alluding to governance of the party, to the transparency of the party, and perhaps even in the governing of Scotland as well. You've had to call in the army to your constituency to replace broken down ferries.
I think there's an element of hyperbole here, and since you've raised the issue of the ferry, what has happened is that there is a ferry crossing that takes place to the Arnhem Peninsula. There are two vessels that cover that route. There's a second backup vessel, and unfortunately both have had to go into dry dock for repairs. That's an exceptional circumstance, and on that basis I am the one, on behalf of Highland Council and with the support of Scottish Government, has made a request in the short term to the Ministry of Defence to make sure that we can sustain the service until the main vessel comes back over the course of the next few weeks. That's the right thing to do, to make sure that the communities that I represent get the service that they would expect to get.
So a special mention to the Westminster Government Ministry of Defence for bailing you out.
Callum, I think you're putting it in a rather pejorative term. I think the fact of the matter is that myself, Highland Council, the Scottish Government, have had a constructive conversation with the Ministry of Defence. That is what happens in times such as this. And remember, of course, that it's our Ministry of Defence just as much as it is anybody else's. But I'm grateful and thankful to the support and assistance that the Ministry of Defence and the Secretary of State for Defence, Ben Wallace, has given us in this case. Because the key thing, the only important thing, to make sure that people in the Arnhem-Orregan Peninsula have got the connection that they need, that we can get supplies in, that people can get on and off the peninsula with ease over the course of the coming periods. That's what's important.
Understood. Ian, thank you very much. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That's Ian Blackford.